Mindsetters, welcome to an exciting show on Learn Extra Live. I'm Katleho and today we're with Haley.
Hi Katleho.
How are you,
guys?
Haley?
I'm well. You?
Today we're doing grade 10 maths literacy. What's up today, Haley?
Today we're going to do revision.
Okay.
We're going to do revision of basically the whole year's work because I'm sure the exams are based on everything. So I think I'm going to go to my spot.
Yeah, sure you can. I know revision is very exciting because exams are near and some of you have even said that you're actually writing tomorrow. So stay tuned and stay glued because then tomorrow it's actually just going to be a breeze. Remember that if you have any questions whatsoever, any questions on anything that you've done this term, there is many ways to get a hold of us. Facebook.com/LearnExtra. You guys know that one well. And our Twitter handle is @LearnExtra. And today we're also taking a few callers. The first 5 callers today will be receiving the books, the winter school books for grade 10 maths literacy or life science or whatever subjects you do. Remember, our number is 086 105 8262. And that's 086 105 8262. Remember those first 5 callers, and we will be taking some questions. So make sure your questions are extra perfect. Hey, Haley.
Extra perfect.
Over to you.
Thanks, Katleho. Hi, grade 10s. Welcome to today's show. But before we start, I think the most important is let's work out our numbers. So, Katleho, last week we were on 11562. What are we on today?
We're on 12104.
104. 12,104.
That's
Clearly,
it.
our page is getting a little bit more.
It is.
Traffic, should we say?
Yeah.
Because I think it's exam time. But guys, you can use us all term long and all year long. But tell your friends how important and how helpful we can actually be, because I'm sure we can be.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to show them maybe the
I
page?
tell you what, before we go, I'm going to ask Katleho to come over here to show you the site. So let's find
Awesome.
it. There you go.
So you guys know our page already. You know how it works. And you know that you can comment and also comment on our status. If you have any questions, don't inbox us because then, you know, those private messages go elsewhere. And if you comment directly on the page or on the timeline, we can get your questions directly. Also, the winter school books, as you can see, if you haven't received one, then you can get one, download all the winter school books. And also the winter school schedule is also here for you.
Our
So make sure that
telephone
you
number?
can... Yes, also. Our telephone number, our Twitter handle, everything is on this page, guys. You guys know this page too well. You know it better than Haley does as
Absolutely.
well. Over to you,
And
Haley.
guys, remember that you can also post on somebody else's comments. So, you know, help each other like I know you've been doing all along. So, okay, there's our page. And let's carry on with today's lesson. So, those were our numbers. And we're going to start off with calculator skills. Now, remember we said to you at the beginning of the year, it seems like such a long time ago, Katleho, we can use, for grade 10 Maths Lit, we only need the simple 4-function calculator. That's the one with a plus, minus, times, and divide. You do not need a scientific calculator. So the whole lesson today, I have got a scientific calculator up on the board, but I'm going to show you how to do it without the calculator. So let's start with some revision. And the first thing when it comes to calculator skills is we need to remember our BODMAS. So I'm going to write it here. We've got our BODMAS. And it might be a good idea for you to just write it on top of your paper so that you don't forget. So it's the brackets. And then of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So that is the order of operations. So it's really important when we start doing the calculations that we use that. Let's go to some examples. So I've got the sum of 27,45 divided by 3/4. So first of all, I'm going to deal with the fraction. So, and when we divide by a fraction, now you can do this on your calculator. You can actually say 3/4. So let's get my calculator out. And I can say 3 divided by 4. And write that number out. That's 0,75. So on my page, I'm going to write that in. It is 0,75. And then I'm going to take 27,45 and divide by 0,75. So my calculator again, I'm going to now say 27,45, and remember whenever you're working on the calculator to check that you're actually entering the numbers exactly the way you've written them. So 27,45 divided by 0,75, and we get an answer of 36.6. Now our question said 36.6. So that answer is 36.6. Our question says correct to 1 decimal place. So I have 1 decimal place and I can move on to the next question. Always go back and reread the question. Next sum looks a little bit harder. Now, if you have a scientific calculator and that's what you're using, then guys, you can just enter it exactly the way you see it. But I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't have. We're first going to do our brackets. So 4 minus 6 is minus 2. Then we're going to, remember our BODMAS? I'm just going to write it again. We're going to divide first and multiply. Well, we can multiply and divide kind of at the same time. So we're going to say 6 times 3 is 18. We're going to divide by -2, and we're going to add the 2 at the end. So 18 divided by minus 2 gives us minus 9, and then I'm going to have my 2 plus minus 9. I'm going to end up with an answer of -7. I didn't need the calculator, but you can use the calculator. Use the calculator to double check. And in actual fact, I suggest you use the calculator. You've got the calculator, then rather use it. Right, next one is fractions. So when dealing with fractions, if you don't have the fraction button on the calculator because you don't have a scientific one, then you can actually type that in. That's 2 divided by 3. But let's work with this. We're going to first do the multiply. And when we multiply fractions, we can cancel out, so we can actually see that 3 goes into 3 once and goes into 6 twice. Then we multiply the top and multiply the bottom. So I end up with 5 over, multiply the bottom, 8. And then I'm going to add my 2/3. And then I want a common multiple. So I'm going to see 8 and 3 common. We're going to make it out of 24 plus 24. So 8 goes into 24 how many times? And if you want, guys, I mean, you can use the calculator. So we can say I've got the calculator, and I'm going to say, well, 24 divided by 8, just to show you, is 3, just in case you forgot your times tables. So it's 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Oops, I need a pen color. 3 goes into 24 how many times? Okay, and we could do the same thing, but clearly it's 8. 8 times 2 is 16, and then I add those. 15 plus 16 is 31 over 24. Now they asked me to do it to 1 decimal place, so at this point I'm actually going to type it into my calculator and get the calculator up, and I'll say 31 divided by 24 and get an answer, and I see that it's 1,3. Remember your rounding. So that was, let's write it out in another color, 1,29. Remember when we're rounding, I suggest you underline the number we're rounding to. Look at the number next to it. Is it 5 or bigger? Then the number increases. So that becomes 1,3. Right. Next one, just in case you get a kind of question that looks like this. In this case, we need to add first. This sum is not the same as the square root of 4 plus the square root of 25. It is not the same. What we really need to do is we need to add the numbers under my square root. So I end up with square root of 29. And then again, I can take my calculator out and I can square root 29. And I get an answer of 5,4. Remember your rounding? So it was 5,38 or 5,4. I feel like I'm flying through these sums. Do you think I'm going a little bit too fast?
I think they've got it. It
I
is
think they got
revision
it.
after all.
It is revision, you're right. Okay, lastly, I've got a sum that seems a little bit random and a little bit more mathematical. But what I want to just point out is that 2 squared, now if you don't have a scientific calculator and you don't have that little squared button, what do we do? Well, what does 2 squared mean? It means 2 times 2. And this is plus 3 times 3. And we're going to minus 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. That's basically what the square and the cube means. That we just, and remember, it's not times 2 or times 3, it's times by itself twice or 3 times. So we could do this calculation. So we've got 4 plus 9, and I'm going to minus. Now this I'm going to do on the calculator, and I'll show you 1.2 cubed, if I've got the button, is 1,728. But before I write that out, I'm going to show you the same thing. 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2, and we get the same answer of 1,728. Now remember, we're rounding to one decimal place, so it becomes 1,7. So our color, so we're minusing 1,7. And now we could do this again on the calculator. So let's get our calculator out, and we say 4 plus 9 minus 1,7. And we get an answer of 11,3. The real important thing with calculator work is, one, to check that you're actually putting in the right numbers and that you know how to use your calculator. But hopefully by June, and I'm sure Katlego will agree with me, you should know how to use your calculator. Don't lose your calculator just before exams, and never get a new one just before exams. So how's that for good, good advice? But you've been practicing with your calculator, so you know how it works. And that's the most important thing. So I think let's move on to the next part of the question. Right, we've got percentage calculations. So again, a little bit of revision. Let's use yellow for a change. Write 0,33 as a percentage. As soon as you see the word percentage, what do we know we have to do? We have to times by 100. So all I'm going to do in this case is say 0,33 times by 100. And that's going to give me the number as a percentage. And again, I can use my calculator. 0,33 times by 100. And it's 33%. Now I know sometimes your instinct is to just put the answer because you know the answer. Guys, double check it on the calculator. It just makes a little bit of sense. You've got that. You probably will have the time to do it. So check it on the calculator. Don't assume that your mental arithmetic is good. It might be perfect, but rather check the technology. Right. We've got to write 5,07% as a decimal fraction. Well, what does a decimal fraction mean? Okay, and correct to one decimal place. First of all, I'm going to write it as a fraction. So 5,07% is the same as 5,07 out of 100, because that is my fraction. Now I want it as a decimal, so I'm going to type that into my calculator, and I've got 5,07 divided by 100, and we get an answer of 0,0507. 0,0507, and it asks correct to one decimal place, so clearly underlining the wrong one there. I'm underlining the first decimal place, looking at the number afterwards, and it becomes 0,1. That's a decimal fraction. Okay, next we need to calculate 14% of 43 Rand 81. So we take our number, 43 Rand 81, and if you don't want the units, you can leave the units out, but remember, we're dealing with money, so we need our units at the end. And in this particular question, they're not going to tell us how many decimal places there are, because we know money needs to be 2 decimal places. So we're going to times it, because we're working out a percentage, times it by 14%. And your calculators can do that. Even your 4-function calculator can do this. 43,81 times by 14%, and press equals, and I get a number of 6,1334, which I'm going to round to 2 decimal places, so it's 6,13. And remember, it was rands, and that is 14%. Now make sure that you've read the question correctly. They're just asking for the percentage. And whenever they see 14%, I immediately think VAT, because VAT is 14%. So I always check, are they asking me to include the VAT or to exclude the VAT or whatever it is they're dealing with the VAT, but in this case they just want to know what that was. Okay. Next question. The price of petrol is due to decrease by 18.5% next month. That would be so nice if it decreased. I know we've just had a decrease.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have another decrease.
Another one and another one and another one.
And another, absolutely. Okay, so it's decreasing by 18.5% next month. A litre of petrol at the moment costs R11.52. What will the new price be next month? Now we're expecting a number that is lower because we are decreasing it. So I'm going to do this. I can do this two ways. In fact, I'm going to show you both ways. First, I'm going to say, well, okay, I've got R11.52. And I'm going to first work out what the decrease is. So I'm going to times it by 18.5%. And remember, we always multiply percentage. So we're going to times it by 18.5% and get our answer. Let's do that on calculator. I got R11.52 times by 18.5%, and I get an answer of R2.13. Rounded off is R2.13. And now I need to decrease it, so I'm going to take my amount, which was R11.52, and minus this R2.13. Oh, it would be so nice to have a R2 decrease in petrol. Okay, so let's get our calculator out again. We've got R11.52 minus R2.13, and we will be paying R9.39. R9.39. Right, I'm going to quickly show you another way of doing this, kind of in one step. So let us find more space. I'm going to go to the end here and find some more space. So I had my numbers of R11.52. And I wanted to decrease it, I'm just going to write it out again, by 18.5%. So first of all, if you remember, I took that R11.52 and I minused the percentage amount. So I'm going to work that out as what did I minus? I took 100%, that was my R11.52, and minus 18.5%. So let's just do that on the calculator quickly. So I've got 100 minus 18.5. And that gives me 81.5%. So that is 81.5%. So if I now take my amount of petrol and multiply it by that decrease, R11.52, and I times it by the 81.5%, I should get the same answer. So let's double check that. So clear that. I've got R11.52 times by 81.5%. And we get an answer of 9.39. 9.39. Was that the same answer? 9.39. So, I'm going to move up and just take 9.39. It was exactly the same answer. So, you can do it in one step. You can do it for decrease and increase. Decrease, you take 100% and minus the percentage you're working with. And for increase, you take 100% and you add the percentage that you're working with. So, do you think I've got time to show them a quick increase? I know that's a different question.
Would you like to take a break now or
You
carry
know
on
what?
with one quickly?
Maybe we should just take a little
Okay.
break now,
Okay,
and then we can come back and I'll do the increase when we
Okay.
get back.
Awesome.
Over to you, Katlego.
So guys, this break, if you don't have a calculator next to you, now you know that you should get it right now. See you after the break.